Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the stream. So, a friend of mine gave me this little thing, and inside there's concentrated coffee. And I guess all you do is mix it with some water and make some coffee. I haven't tried it yet, but it seems like kind of a neat idea. But maybe not very good for the environment, right? But maybe we can try. So, welcome everybody. One thing I'd like to say first is I like doing these streams and I like working with you guys and being here live with people. And that's an important part of this stream. I like to hear from you and hear questions from you. So I know some people have been joining in and watching the stream, but not saying hello. And then I get a little bit worried because right now, I'm not seeing numbers of how many people are watching. So sometimes I think, is anyone actually here? So it would be nice of you if you could reach out and just say hello. And if you have questions during the stream, I would love to hear them. That would help me help you. So please chime in, say hi, ask some questions, feel free to chat with me. And that's kind of why we're here, right? I want to be able to interact with you, help you with your learning. If it's just me going blah, 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 that's okay. I'll tell you about the homework and help you explain, but it might be more helpful for you if you talk with me and share the things that you think are extra tricky. Maybe I'll talk about one thing and everyone thinks, okay, we get it, we get it. But then maybe something I talk about a short time, you might think, oh, that was tricky. Why did he only talk about it for 30 seconds? So I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about stuff. So please let me know. Please chime in. So today we're taking a look at Lesson 6, Conversation 3. This is our dialogue with our chill, omitofo, relaxed personality. And this person is not having any real strong feelings, really, really relaxed and just going, whatever, I don't really care. So sometimes you feel like this, sometimes I feel like this. I don't really know. I don't really care. Just give me what I need. And so in this conversation, you're not feeling any strong feelings and you just, yeah, whatever. I just need a roof over my head. I need to just decide now and move on. I don't care about that. I don't care about this. And so our last two dialogues, we had a really positive personality where Bob was saying, hey, look at that problem. Look at that problem. But you were too positive. You were positive to a fault. And you said, oh, that's great. That's great. And Bob was shocked. And then last week we had a negative personality where the landlord was telling us all these really good things. Oh, it's sunny. And you go, I'm a vampire. I don't like the sun. So bad reactions to everything, right? But this time, not really any strong reactions. You just go, oh, yeah, I don't care. Whatever. Just give me it. Whatever. And the landlord, because he sees that you're kind of too easygoing, he tries to take advantage of you. Uh-oh. He tries to put some strange fees into the terms and conditions, right? So he tries to put in an expensive landscaping fee to cut and fix the outside of the house, the plants around the house. But there's only one plant, one little bush. And, oh my gosh. But he tricks you into paying for it. And then he tells you you need to pay a pet fee. And you go, huh? I don't have a pet. But he was just talking about Bob. Bob's too hairy like me. So Bob looked like a dog. And then the landlord goes, I mean a visitor fee. $5,000 for a visitor fee every time someone comes to the house? That's too much, right? Too crazy. So luckily, at the end, things actually worked out. You went to sign your name and you went to put your John Hancock on the line. A John Hancock means your signature. Shoo, 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 shoo. But lucky for you, you weren't really thinking, and what did you write? You just wrote John Hancock, someone else's name. Oh my gosh. And so you didn't really agree to the lease, you didn't agree to the rental contract, so it's okay. And so in our dialogue, all these crazy things, and you agree to all these bad terms and conditions, but you get lucky, you don't sign the contract, and you're free. Okay? So through this dialogue, we learned a lot of different things, right? The first thing we learned or else, we learned otherwise, and we learned unless to show that things are different, right? So to show some contrast, and you want to do something, but if you don't do it, what will happen? And then we learned that unless is to show the only way something is going to happen, right? And then we then learned about the phrase in case, meaning I'm doing something to be careful, to protect in case something happens, right? And then we looked at another condition with only if only if, and then provided that. These are strict conditions saying like, I will do it if this is finished. You need it to be done before you do something else. And then we finally had our dialogue at the end. So piece by piece, a lot of these are about conditions, right? One thing needs to be true for something else to happen, okay? So let's get started. Remember, if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll check over here and get back to you as soon as I can. So let's start with Lesson 6, Conversation 3, Part 2, talking about otherwise or else unless, okay? So our first sentence for this is 我每天一定要吃早餐，如果不吃，我会没精神. So this might be true of you. I can do okay with no food. I just need coffee. So, do you need food in the morning, or do you need coffee, or do you need both? So, in English, I would write this sentence as, I need to eat breakfast every day. You could also say every morning. That's okay too. Otherwise, I won't have any energy. So, I need to eat breakfast. Breakfast. I need to eat breakfast every day. Otherwise, I won't have any energy. You'll just be like a sloth. Too tired, too lazy. Okay, so I need to eat breakfast every day. Of course, we've learned that need to can be written many different ways. I need to, I have to, I've got to, I must. So all of these are okay. But as I've taught you before, must is a little more serious and a little bit more formal. We don't use must all that often in day-to-day conversation. So it's better to use need, have to, I've got to, or I gotta, right? So I need to eat breakfast every day. And then that part is pretty straightforward, right? Then the consequence, what will go wrong if you don't have breakfast every day? To show there's a consequence, something bad will happen, you can use the word otherwise. So remember, period, otherwise, comma. So when we use otherwise, it's starting a new sentence. I need to eat breakfast every day. Otherwise, I won't have any energy. Why do we have the comma? Well, because when you're speaking, you pause for a short time. Otherwise, I won't have any energy. You don't blend the words together. That's why there's that comma, okay? Now, I used otherwise. It shows that there's a different choice that's kind of a negative consequence. So one thing will happen, or else this will happen. So you can use otherwise, or you can use or else. Or else and otherwise are the same thing, but we just use the commas and periods differently. So if you use or else, you could say, I need to eat breakfast every day, comma, or else I won't have any energy. So you only need a comma before or else. Okay? I also saw people use if not, which we learned a few lessons ago. I need to eat breakfast every day. If not, I won't have any energy. That's totally fine. And also, you could just use the word or. Or is less strong. Using the word or shows a different thing that will happen, but there's less focus on something goes wrong. Using otherwise or else shows that one thing is a consequence. Using the word or can show that, but it's less strong. So I need to eat breakfast every day, or I won't have any energy. So if you just want to make it stronger, use or else or otherwise. Okay? Now the second part, I said, I won't have any energy. That's short for I will not have any energy. So when we're talking about nothing, there is nothing. A lot of students said, I will have no energy. And it's not wrong. I will have no energy. But it's okay to say that, but it's better if you move that no and put it on the verb. Instead of saying, I will have no energy, you say, I will not have energy. Okay? So we move the verb, we move the no to the verb, and that's a little bit better. Okay? So I won't have energy, or I won't have any energy, instead of saying I'll have no energy. And remember, we use the verb have when we're talking about energy. There were a few students out there who said, I will be no energy. Energy is a thing, it's an idea, and we use have to talk about energy. Have energy. Do not say be energy. Unless you're like turning into Thor, you're turning into lightning. Bzz, that is be energy. But usually we talk about having energy. Like, oh, I'm ready to go. I have energy. Okay? I won't have any energy, or I'll have no energy. Both are okay, but I like having the no on the verb better. Okay? I also saw people say, I will be out of energy. And that's okay to use be, because out of energy is an adjective describing you. I will be out of energy, meaning boom, no power. Okay? And you can keep it simple. You could say, I'll feel tired. That's fine too. I also saw people say, I'll be lifeless. That's okay, but it's a little bit too complicated. Lifeless is usually describing something you see. Usually you're talking about you see something and it was lifeless, like it had no energy. But I was lifeless, or I feel lifeless. It sounds a little bit too complicated. So usually for talking about your own feelings, we would talk about having no energy or not having energy, something like that. Okay? I also saw someone say, I will be less spirited. Spirited can mean energetic in having energy, but we don't use it very often. It sounds a little bit old-fashioned. It sounds cool. It sounds interesting, but it sounds like something you might hear in a book. I will be less spirited. Sounds a little too formal for spoken English, but it's not wrong. It's just not a common way to say it. Okay? Our second sentence is 晚上睡眠要充足，不然隔天容易暴饮暴食. So this is very important. Everybody needs to get some rest. So if we're talking about everybody, in Chinese, you just start with, you don't have a subject, right? You don't say you don't say they, you just say it. But in English, if we're telling everybody in the world something, a suggestion that people should do, we often start with you. So I said, you need to get enough sleep at night, or else you might eat too much the next day. So You need to get enough sleep at night. Okay? That should be pretty straightforward. You need to get enough sleep at night. Okay? So I start with you, and it doesn't mean you, it means people in general. Okay? If we're talking to everybody, you can say you. Okay? And then I saw a few people just start with get enough. Get enough sleep at night. That's not wrong, but that would be a command. You're telling someone to do it. If you're talking to everybody on earth, making a suggestion, we would usually start with you. If you start, get enough sleep at night, it sounds like you're telling one person, okay? You're telling them what they need to do, okay? Or else you might eat too much the next day. So again, or else shows the other choice, and it's a consequence, something not so great. You might eat too much the next day. So in Chinese, it says 暴饮暴食. So that's saying too much drinking, too much eating. And I don't think you mean like drinking alcohol, right? So if you say too much drinking, that sounds like you're talking about alcohol. And so in English, we would just leave drinking out of this sentence. Because if you say you'll drink too much, that means you're going to get drunk. Maybe drink 10 beers. Oh, don't do that. And so I just left the drink part out of there. So you might eat too much the next day. Okay? You could also say the word overeat. You might overeat the next day. That would be fine too. So if you really, really want to include drink too much, say drink too much. We do not say overdrink. So overeat is okay. Overdrink is not common, okay? And I kept it simple. I said you might overeat or you might eat too much. You could also say you will eat too much if you're pretty sure about it, okay? I'm not sure, so I use might. If you're pretty sure, you could say you will eat too much. You could also say, similar to might, you could say you're more likely to eat too much the next day. That's good too. So you're more likely to, meaning there's a good chance it will happen. It will probably happen, okay? I saw a few people use the word easily. In Chinese, you use 容易 to mean easily, meaning it's likely to happen. But in English, the word easy doesn't really mean the same thing. So saying you will easily eat too much, it's a little bit, it's not the best choice. It's better to say like you are more likely to, or you probably will, or you might do this. Okay? So next sentence, 我觉得人不一定要结婚，除非找到适合的对象. So this is a good way to think. You don't have to get married, and maybe you shouldn't get married if the person is not right for you, right? Is it better to be single or be in an unhappy marriage? I don't know. Everybody's different. Everybody thinks different. So I would write this sentence as, I don't think people need to get married unless they find the right person. Okay, and remember, if we have unless in the middle, we do not need a comma. So I don't think people need to get married unless they find the right person. Okay, this is what somebody thinks. I don't think people need to blah, 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 blah. So like I said before, if you have the idea of not, the negative, usually we pull it back and stick it on the verb. So I don't think people need to get married, okay? So there are a few students who said something like, I think people don't need to get married. And that's not wrong. It's okay. I think people don't need to get married. But usually we would take that not and put it on the first verb. It's a little bit smoother, easier to say, easier to understand. I don't think people need to get married. Okay? Now, another way to say this, you could say it's not necessary for people to get married. That would be totally fine. So necessary is the same as need or have to, right? Okay? And then I don't think people need to get married, have to get married. It's not necessary to get married. But be careful, shouldn't is a different thing. So I saw a few people say, I think people shouldn't get married unless they find the right people. Now, this is a little bit stronger. If you say, I don't think people need to get married unless blah, 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 means it's not something they need to do. They can if they want to, but they don't need to. If you say, I think people shouldn't get married unless they find the right person, that's a lot stronger. You think it's a bad idea to get married unless you find the right person, okay? So do you understand the difference? So they don't need to get married, meaning they can if they want to, but they don't need to. But shouldn't means, no, 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 don't do it. It's a bad idea, okay? So be careful what you mean. You could say either one, and it depends on your opinion about marriage and about finding the right person, okay? And so I said the right person. You could say this a few different ways, okay? Of course. So the right person, the right partner, a suitable match, someone who is right for you, someone right for you, someone good for you, right? So notice I said someone who is right for you. You could also say someone right for you. So the who is, you can take out. We'll learn more about that in future lessons. So I think keep it simple, say the right person is just good enough. Using the word like suitable, it's correct, but suitable is a little bit formal and less common. Usually we just say right. It's right for you, the right person, okay? I did see a couple people say fit, a fit partner. Now, if you use the word fit as an adjective for person, that does not mean they are right for you or they're suitable for you. The word fit in America means physically fit. They do exercise and they're in good shape. So maybe that is the right person for you, but it means something different. Fit means they are like they have muscles and they're strong and they're really healthy. I want to find someone fit. A fit partner means a partner who has big muscle. And then in British English, the word fit just means very attractive, maybe a beautiful person or a handsome person. So someone who's fit in England, that just means, whew, they look good, okay? So in this sentence, it's better to use the right person, okay? Now the second part, the important part for the sentence, I don't think people need to get married unless they find the right person. So the unless tells you this part of the sentence is the only reason that forces the other part to be true, right? I don't think people need to get married unless they find the right person. If they find the right person, then yeah, go for it. It's a good idea, okay? And after the word unless, we want a subject verb. So unless they find. So I saw some people write unless find. You need that they in there, okay? Unless they find. And then, yeah, be careful. This should be unless, meaning that like you don't need to do this unless you do this, and then makes it a good idea. Otherwise doesn't really fit here. Otherwise means there's two choices and one's a consequence of the other. One, if that doesn't happen, it leads to the other thing. But unless doesn't really work exactly the same. So be careful about the difference between unless and otherwise, okay? And then our fourth sentence, 除非你求我，不然我才不要帮你. Oh, okay. Well, maybe you think someone should be good on their own. I'm going to leave you alone. And so you say this to them. Unless you ask me, I'm not going to help you. So you can do it yourself. Go for it. You got it. I'm not going to help. I'll stand back. So unless you ask me, I'm not going to help you. So following, similar to the Chinese, you can put unless at the beginning of the sentence. But this sentence, it's a little more smooth, and it's probably more common to hear people put the unless at the end for this sentence. This kind of sentence is pretty common. I'm not going to help you unless you ask me. So I'm watching TV and you're cleaning the house. Ho, ho, ho. And I'm watching TV and I say, yeah, I'm not going to help you unless you ask me. I'll just be over here. So, but if you ask me, I will help. So it's okay. So unless you ask me. So ask just needs to be finished, followed by me. Ask me. So I saw a few people write ask to me. You don't need the word to with ask. Ask already has direction in the word. Ask me. Ask who? Ask me. Okay? And then I saw some people use past tense, asked me. Unless you asked me, I'm not going to help you. That doesn't really work here because asked with ed would be past tense. And so they didn't already ask you. So this one, we need to keep it ask, no ed, okay? And then I saw a few people use the word beg. So that makes it a little bit stronger. So the way I was thinking, I'm watching TV. If you ask me, yeah, I'll help. But if you use beg, beg is like, please, please, please. So unless you beg me, I'm not going to help you. Now that's okay, but it's a lot stronger. You need the person to beg. Please help me. Okay, okay, okay. Okay? And then the second part, I'm not going to help you. You could also say, I won't help you. Both are fine. I saw someone write, I won't want to help. Here we don't really need to put want with it. I will not want to help you. We don't often put want in the future like that. For not for this kind of situation. So just drop the word want. There's want in the Chinese, but in the English, we don't need it. Okay? And with that, let's move on to our next one. And we're on lesson 6, conversation 3, part 3. And this is focusing on in case and in case of. Now, in case of is not super common. It's pretty often seen on signs. You'll see it on signs, but when people speak, we don't use the words in case of. In case of fire, take the staircase. You don't hear people say that very much, right? But in case, we use all the time. In case of is for official signs. In case, day to day, day to day. So these sentences, you probably use in case in your answer. Okay, so the first sentence is 我开了夜灯，想说有可能你半夜想上厕所。So, oh, that's a nice thing to do. What's our situation? Well, someone is staying at your house. You have a visitor. Someone is staying over, and they don't usually stay there. And so you do something nice for them, and you say, oh, I turned on a nightlight in case you want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of words, right? English sometimes uses lots of little words. I turned on a nightlight in case you want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Okay. So think of it piece by piece. I turned on a nightlight in case you want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Whew. Lots of little words. So with lights, we always use turn on. Computers, lights, we turn them on. Do not say, I opened the light, okay? And don't say, I start the light, okay? So I turned on the light. Like, imagine turning a switch. You turn it on, you turn it off. Now, a lot of lights now are buttons, right? Or switches. You flip them or push the button. But when I was a kid, The lights, you actually turn a little thing. Turn, click, and turn, click. So you turn it on, turn it off, okay? So I turned on a nightlight. Why do we use a, not the? Well, this is the first time I mention it. If it's the first time, you don't know what I'm talking about, so I use a nightlight. If I use the word the, that means you already know which nightlight I'm talking about. This nightlight, the nightlight. But if I just say a nightlight, oh, okay, you're telling me about it for the first time, okay? And why did you turn it on? Well, in case you want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Now, in case, I think everybody got it. In case you want to go, or in case you need to go, both are okay. Or in case, I saw a few people say, in case you may want to go. That's okay too, but you don't need the word may. It's a little bit extra. So in case you want to go to the bathroom. I also saw in case you will go. But you don't know they will. So using future is if you're pretty sure it will happen. But if you're not sure, it's better to use in case you want to go or in case you need to go. Okay, so in case we're giving a condition, I don't know what's going to happen, but if it happens, okay? And then I use the word bathroom. Most people use the word restroom in their sentence. Now, why did I use bathroom? You've heard me say before, you should use the word restroom, right? Well, the word restroom is when you're being polite, right? You don't want to, well, for the restroom, there are 3 different levels. Restroom is very polite. Bathroom, medium. Toilet, not very polite, okay? So restroom is a polite way to say it. And if you're at a restaurant or at a friend's house visiting, you might say, oh, can I use your restroom? But this is the host talking to their visitor, and their visitor is sleeping at the house. And so they're already very close. So using the word restroom is a little bit polite, and these people are really close, so they don't need to be so polite. So they might just use the word bathroom, okay? I turned on a nightlight in case you want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So bathroom is like the middle one. You're not trying to be polite. You're not being rude. Using the word toilet is not very nice sounding. So stay away from using the word toilet. Stick to bathroom with close friends, restroom when you're trying to be polite, okay? And then at the end, I said, in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night means when it's really dark out, late night, okay? You could say late night or in the middle of the night. Many of you said midnight. Why is midnight not the right answer? Middle of the night and midnight, aren't those the same? Midnight is a specific time. Remember, midnight means 12:00. So midnight means that one time. So middle of the night means when it's late at night. Midnight means 12:00. So be careful there. 半夜 is not midnight. It's the middle of the night. Okay? Okay, next up. 我已经约好会议时间，但我再打电话确认一下，以防万一。Okay, so you're getting ready for a business meeting, you're working with people, and you just want to be careful. So what do? Well, you say, I already booked a time for the meeting, but let me call and double check just in case. Okay, so I use the word double check, but you could also say, let me call to confirm just in case. Okay, so last week we talked about booked and scheduled, and both of those are okay here. You can use the word I booked a time, I scheduled a time, and both are okay. And they're both good for booking a room or booking a place, booking a time for something, okay? I also saw someone use made an appointment. Made an appointment isn't often used for a meeting. made an appointment for a meeting. Usually we use appointment when you're meeting like a specialist, like a doctor or a dentist. I made an appointment with my doctor. I made an appointment with my dentist. Okay? For business, we usually say booked a time or scheduled a meeting. Okay? But let me call and double check just in case. So I think I did it, but I want to double check. Double check means when you did it, you checked it one time, and then you double check, you check it again, you confirm again, okay? So we'll often use the word double check to say you're being careful about something. And you can use the word confirm also. Confirm means make sure it's right. Confirm is a little more formal than double check, but both are okay. Let me call to confirm just in case. Okay, so let me call is what you want to say. So you're talking to your friend or your coworker and you say, let me call. Just let me do it. And let me, meaning like it's only going to take a minute. This is a good idea, okay? So I also saw someone say, have a phone call. We don't have a phone call, we make a phone call. So remember the verb. I also saw someone say, take a call. Well, make a call means call out. Take a call means someone calls you and you answer the phone. So here, take a call doesn't really fit. You want make a call. I know it's really tricky, make and take, okay? So to double check, to confirm, for confirmation. And why are we doing it? Well, just in case. Just in case is a phrase meaning we don't know something's going to go wrong, but we just want to be extra careful. So do it just in case. Okay? And then our next sentence is 想象如果你中乐透，你第一件事会做什么? Okay? So now we're imagining. So suppose you won the lottery. What would be the first thing you'd do? So suppose you won the lottery. Suppose means I want you to think about it. I want you to imagine it. And suppose you won the lottery. No problem there. Finish with a period and then ask a question. What would be the first thing you'd do? Okay? You'd meaning you would do. Okay? And now, because remember that suppose is for imaginary things. Things that haven't happened, we're just thinking about it. So would is the verb we want to use when we're thinking about imaginary situations, things that haven't happened. What would be the first thing you'd do? Okay? So I saw some students use what was. That's past tense. It didn't happen yet, so we can't use past tense. What is the first thing you'd do? That would be okay because it's just asking for a truth. Generally, what is the first thing you would do? Because we have that would at the end, okay? And I saw what will be the first thing you do. Will means you have a feeling, you know it's going to happen, you're predicting. But for the lottery, you can't say, I will do it when I win the lottery. You have to imagine, because it's probably not going to happen, right? And then the end, the first thing you'd do. The first thing you would do is the best way to say it. And I saw what would be the first thing will you do? But this is a what question, so we don't need to flip the subject in the verb. So you don't need to say, would you do? You would say, you would do. So you only flip the subject in the verb, would you would, that flip. You only do that if it's starting the question. If it's at the end of the question, you don't need to flip it. It should be, you would do. Okay? You could also say, what would you do first? Keep it simple. What would you do first? Okay? But don't add the word the if you do it that way. If you use first, that's just talking about the timing. What would you do first? But you don't need, what would you do the first? Don't add the, okay? Now, the next sentence had some interesting things that you want to buy. And it was a little bit tricky, but it's kind of an interesting idea. Some weird things that people use in winter places, really cold places. So our sentence is 考量到山上会很冷，我们应该买防风外套和防寒衣. So in English, I would say, given that it'll be really cold on the mountain, we should buy windbreakers and long underwear. Long underwear? What? So this is a common thing in places that get super cold and snow and freeze. So long underwear. You could also call it thermal underwear. Thermal means it has heat. And then another way to say long underwear are long johns. So long johns is a way to say underwear that is long. It goes all the way down your arm, all the way down your legs. Okay. So given that it'll be really cold on the mountain, we use given that if we know something will be true. So it's an if thing. It's like if, but we're saying that we know that it's going to be true. Given that it will be cold on the mountain, okay? And when we use given that, we need our subject verb. Given that it will be cold, okay? And we're using future tense because we haven't gone to the mountain yet. We know it will be cold. So future tense with will, because we know we're predicting what will happen. Now, the first piece of clothing you should buy are called windbreakers. A windbreaker is a kind of jacket that's made out of a light, thin material that the wind will go over it really easily. You can think of your jacket will break the wind. The wind just goes around you. It doesn't go through the clothes, it goes around the clothes. So the clothes break the wind, a windbreaker, okay? And then, so I saw people say windbreaker jackets, but windbreaker is the name of the thing. You don't need to add the word jacket, okay? You could also say windproof jacket. That would be okay. Windproof means it stops the wind. But windbreaker is a common enough word that people will know. So just use windbreaker. So windproof is okay as an adjective, windproof jacket, but we would not use wind block. So I saw a couple of people say wind block coats or wind block jackets. That's not a common word, so use windproof if you want to use that adjective, okay? And then for what you wear under your jacket is called 防寒衣 in Chinese. In English, there are a few different ways to say this. What we called it when I was growing up is long underwear. So it's under your clothes. It's like a t-shirt. It's like a shirt you wear under your shirt, and it goes all the way to your wrists, and it's a warm shirt. And then you have the same material as underwear, but it goes from your waist, from your hips, all the way down to your ankles, and it keeps your whole body warm. So people will wear long underwear in countries that are super cold. So wear long underwear, and then pants on top, and a shirt on top, and then a hoodie or sweatshirt on top of that shirt, and then a jacket on top of that shirt, on top of that sweatshirt. So long underwear, shirt, sweatshirt, and then a coat or a jacket on top. So 4 layers during the winter. Oh gosh. Okay, Sylvia has a question. Hi Kyle, why don't we use the you in the mountain in this sentence? I'll get there in a second. So, given that it'll be really cold on the mountain. Well, okay, when people are hiking, you have to imagine where are they? So the mountain, it's a thing. And where are you hiking? You are on the mountain. Now, in is like you're inside of something. So in the mountain, okay? If we're talking about one mountain, let's say there's one mountain, you are hiking on the mountain, or you're climbing on the mountain, okay? Or going up the mountain, that would be okay too. But the word in means you're inside of something. And so with one mountain, we would not say in the mountain. If you said mountains, like there are many mountains around you, talking about the area, the region, you could say in the mountains with an S. So that would be okay. If you say, it'll be really cold in the mountains, that means there's more than one mountain and you're in the middle of many mountains, okay? But if it's talking about one, we want to use on the mountain, okay? So, okay. And then I have a question about the second sentence. I have already booked a time for the meeting. So let's rewind. Going back to booking a time for a meeting. Rewind. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So for the second sentence, can I use present perfect tense? I have already booked blah, 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 blah. In my sentence, I said, I already booked a time for the meeting, blah, 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 blah. Now the question is, can you say, I have already booked a time for the meeting? Well, yes. Like as we learned before, past simple tense and present perfect tense are often the same thing. They're often the same thing. I booked a time, I have booked a time. And booked a time just says that it happened in the past and it's finished. I have booked a time means that it happened in the past and maybe it is close to now. Maybe I'm telling you some new news, telling you something new that just happened. So using either or are fine. I booked a time, I have booked a time. Both are okay. Using the present perfect sounds like maybe you're telling someone for the first time, hey, I've booked a time for the meeting, blah, 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 okay? So I have already booked becomes I've already booked. Good, that's fine. Now, hopefully that helps. If you have more questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer. So now, back to, given that it'll be really cold on the mountain or in the mountains, we should buy windbreakers and long underwear. So long underwear, like I said, it could be an undershirt that goes to your wrists and underpants that go from your waist down to your ankles. Whew. So keep you nice and warm. And where I grew up, we would wear 4 layers. Okay, now long underwear can also be called thermal underwear or just thermal clothes. That would be okay. Thermal is talking about heat. Anytime you see a word with THERM, thermos, thermal, something like that, it's talking about heat and temperature, right? So thermal underwear, like the heat tech that Uniqlo has, they keep you warm, okay? Another name for this is long johns. I don't know why it's called John. It's not a guy. It doesn't have to be for a guy, but they're called long john, okay? And then you could call them thermal clothes, like I said. I also saw someone say anti-cold. We wouldn't use anti-cold as an adjective. That's not very common. You could say cold-proof as an adjective, but that's also not very common either. So to describe these clothes, it's better to use thermal, okay? And then I also saw a few people for the fanghan yi. The thing we were imagining was these long underwear, thermal clothes, but you could change this and talk about like a kind of coat. So if you were imagining a jacket, like a big thick jacket, you could say a few different things. You could say a winter coat, or you could say a parka, which is another thick jacket, or you could call a down jacket. A down jacket, down means feathers. So a down jacket is a jacket that's thick because it's stuffed with feathers. And then you could just keep it simple and say winter clothes, clothes to keep you warm in winter. Okay? Let's keep on moving. So, lesson 6, conversation 3, part 4. This time we're talking about as long as, only if and only if, provided that, and on the condition that, right? Okay. On the condition that is pretty formal, so you don't need that in your answers today. So, our first sentence is, 只要你过得好，我就放心了. Oh, phew. So I would say, as long as you're doing well, I don't need to worry. Okay. Or you could say, as long as you're doing well, I can rest easy. Phew, it's okay. So start off with the most important part is as long as. So as long as is kind of like if, but it's focused on that something's continuing, and I think it's going to be true. I'm assuming that it will be true, as long as you're doing well. So I think it's true. I think it's going to continue going well. That's great. I don't need to worry, okay? When we're talking about someone's life and how they're living, usually we just use the word doing. So you could say, as long as you're doing well, as long as you're doing great, something like that. So for this, in Chinese, you say 过得好. But in English, we would say doing. You are doing blah, blah, blah. You're doing well. Okay? So a lot of people said live well, have a good life, live happily, live better, things like that. Those are okay. If you say it, I understand you. But when we're talking about someone living their life, usually we just say you are doing well. Okay? So keep it simple, stick to that kind of phrase. Now, the second part was a little bit tricky because 放心 is a very common word in Chinese, but we don't directly translate that into English. And some of the phrases you guys came up with are okay, but they're not super common. So instead of saying 放心, you can think of it the opposite way. Instead of saying this is happening, 我放心了. You could say, I'm not doing something. I'm not worrying. Okay? I don't need to worry. Okay? That's the way I would think of this first. As long as you're doing well, I don't need to worry. Okay? There's no need for me to worry. And that means I'm relaxed, right? And then I use the phrase, I can rest easy, meaning the same thing. I'm not worrying. I would say don't need to worry would be more common, okay? I also saw I will be relieved. Relieved means like you're really, really, really nervous, and then whew, then you feel relieved. The being scared goes away. So if you use relieved in the sentence, it means you were super worried. You thought the person was having a bad time, and then you found out they're okay. I'm relieved. But that's not exactly what we're trying to say, right? That would mean that's a little bit, or that's not the way I imagine it. I imagine someone says, hey, I'm doing pretty well. And I say, oh, good. As long as you're doing well, I don't need to worry. But that doesn't mean I thought something was really bad before, right? So relieved means I thought something was bad, then, oh, good, you're not sick. It's okay. Okay? I also saw it's a load off my mind. Okay? That's okay, but just like being relieved, having a load off your mind means you were really, really, really worried about something, and then you're letting go. Okay? And then I saw a few people use the phrase rest assured. I will be rest assured, or I can rest assured. Rest assured is not a very common phrase. We usually use that at the beginning of telling someone something. Rest assured, tomorrow will be a sunny day. So I'm telling you to relax. But we don't usually use rest assured about ourselves. I am rest assured. No, not usually. usually if I'm telling you, I say, hey, rest assured you're doing well on your homework. You're doing well, okay? But we don't talk about ourselves with rest assured, okay? Next up is talking about steaks. Hopefully you had your dinner already and you're not getting hungry. So 一定要是3分熟的牛排，我才会吃。So I'll eat steak only if it's medium rare. So this is what a lot of people who really, really, really like steak might say. So people who really love to eat steak think that medium rare is the only way to cook a steak. Cooking it too little, it's too bloody. Cooking it too much, oh, you ruined it, okay? Never cook a steak well done, is what they say. So I'll eat steak only if it's medium rare, okay? So I use the word steak with no S because it means steak in general. Steak just means the meat. So I'll eat steak only if it's medium rare. You could say a steak if you're talking about one time. I'll eat a steak only if it's medium rare. That's focused on one steak. But if you mean steak in general, that would just be steak, okay? And then only if. We're setting a very strong rule. I'll eat steak only if it's medium rare. So if you give me steak that's medium, I'll say no. It has to be medium rare, okay? And for a steak, the way we describe it, we would say it is medium rare. Or you could say if it's cooked medium rare, that would be okay. But I saw a few people say cooked by medium rare. You don't need the word by there. So if it's medium rare or if it's cooked medium rare. We don't need words like by or at or anything before medium rare. Medium rare is describing the steak or how it was cooked, okay? So only if it's medium rare. And then if you want to make it even stronger, like I'm really strong, you can say I'll eat steak if and only if it's medium rare, okay? So if and only if, it comes from math actually. So if you really want to look deeply into the meaning of if and only if, it can be pretty complicated. But day-to-day use, it just makes it really strong. And then for 三分熟, the measurements of cooking is kind of interesting in Chinese. Or I think it's interesting. It goes 1, 3, 5, 7, and 全, complete. In English, we say rare, meaning it's barely cooked. It's rarely cooked, okay? And then medium rare. So that's halfway between rare and medium. So next is medium. And then we have medium well, and then well done. So rare means it's not cooked at all. It's barely cooked, just a tiny bit on the outside. It's rare. And then the other side is well done. Well doesn't mean good. Well means a lot. It's well done, meaning you cooked it a lot. And then the medium, rare, well done. The middle is called medium. And then between each one, you just combine the names together. Rare and medium, medium rare. Medium well done, medium well. How do you like your steak? Are you one of these steak experts who say it must be medium rare? For me, that sometimes is a little bit too rare. I like it cooked a little bit more, okay? So next up, I have a question of how about I would be contented? So this is going back to as long as you're doing well, I would be contented. Contented, this word is not very common. The word content by itself, content meaning that I'm happy with how things are. Oh, I'm content. That's pretty common. So you can use the word content when you're talking about like your work. Oh, my work is pretty good. I'm content at work. But contented is a little bit less common. And so saying, as long as you're doing well, I would be contented is not a very common phrase. It sounds a little bit old-fashioned. It's not a very common way to say it. So it's okay. I understand what you mean, but people might be thrown off because it's not a common word. So using uncommon words is okay, and you can get your meaning across. But if it's uncommon, that means someone might not be sure if you're using the right word, or they might not be sure totally what you mean, because maybe the person listening to you hasn't heard that word very often. So contented is okay, but it's not the best word here. It's a little bit too rare. Okay. Okay. Next up is 一定要他亲口告诉我，我才会相信。Okay. So I'll believe it if and only if he tells me himself. Okay. So I'm making it strong. I'll believe it if and only if he tells me himself. So for only if and only if, usually we put it in the middle. So if you put only if at the beginning, if and only if at the beginning, that's okay, but we often put it in the middle. Okay. So this one, we didn't have many problems. I'll believe it if and only if he tells me himself. You could also say just only if. Just different strength. Okay? And then I said, if he tells me himself. So maybe your friend told you, and you say, okay, maybe, but I'll believe it if he tells me himself. So he needs to actually tell me. I don't want to hear it from someone different. Okay? So himself, meaning he says it. Another way to say this, a lot of you use the word in person or face to face. So this is a different way to think of it. So tell me himself means I want to hear it from him, not from you. But if he tells me in person means that we actually meet. I don't want to hear it by text or over the phone. I want to see him talk to him face to face. So that changes the meaning a little bit, but it would work and it could be okay depending on what you mean. Do you want to hear it from him instead of another person? Or do you want to hear it from him talking face to face instead of by text message? Okay? Now, a few people said by himself. If he tells me by himself. Remember, by himself means he's alone. If you put by in front of that, it means by myself means I'm alone. By himself means he's alone. But that's not what we're trying to say here. We don't need the word by. So if he tells me himself is better. Okay? Next up. 只要你刷卡一次付清，我可以参加抽奖哦。Whatever. Close enough. Languages are hard, right? So you have trouble you have a tricky time studying English. I have a tricky time studying Chinese. So we're in this together, right? You can help me practice my Chinese. Whew. So in English, I would say, provided that you pay in full by card, you can enter the prize draw. So here, this is a little bit more formal. So it's a credit card company or a store telling you. So provided that is a little bit formal. So provided that you pay in full by card, you can enter the prize draw. So provided that is meaning if in a formal setting, and pay in full. So if we're trying to say you pay for the whole thing, we say pay in full. You don't pay part of it, you pay all of it. So pay in full. This is just a set phrase. So you don't really want to change this at all. Okay? Pay in full with what? With cash? No. Pay in full by card. So maybe this is a promotion for a credit card or something. Provided that you pay in full by card, you can enter the prize draw. Okay? So I use provided that. You could also say on condition that, because it's another formal setting. As long as is okay here. As long as you pay in full by card, that's okay. But as long as often suggests that I think it will be true. I'm expecting you to pay in full by card. So it's okay here, but often provided that is a little bit better, as long as suggests that I think it will be true. And a store usually doesn't know or have a feeling that you're paying by card, right? They don't really know. So I said pay in full. Or you could say pay a lump sum. A lump sum means a big sum, all of the money together. It's a little bit less common than pay in full, but it's okay. And then I saw a few people use pay it off. Pay it off, it's close, but pay it off sounds like you're paying for a bill. Maybe you already bought something and you owe money. If you owe money, then you pay off that bill. But if you're buying something, you don't owe any money yet, so you pay in full. You're not paying the thing off. You usually pay it off, meaning a bill or a debt, okay? Pay in full, by card, saying the way I paid, and then you can enter the prize draw, meaning you have the ability to, you're able to. And then the last part, I said enter the prize draw, or you could say enter the prize drawing with ing. That both would be okay. Now, for these kinds of things like credit card, promotions, or prizes, we often say prize draw because there's a chance to get a prize, right? You could call it a raffle, but for credit cards, they'll often say prize draw. Now, some of you said lottery. Lottery is a little bit different. Lottery is usually talking about money, and usually it's the lottery that is through the government. If it's a company starting a promotion, we would say prize draw. Lottery is usually about money, and it's that government lottery, okay? So here, I'd say it's better not to use lottery. Prize draw, prize drawing is better. I also saw lucky draw. That's okay, but I think prize draw is a little bit better, okay? And then if we have no more questions, let's move on to part 5, our dialogue. So this dialogue, we already talked about it at the beginning, where you're getting tricked into agreeing to a lot of different things. But then after all these things, you agree to terms and conditions. The landlord says, sign your John Hancock on the line. And you go, shoo, 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 shoo. And then you just write John Hancock because you're not really thinking. Oops. But lucky you, that means you don't need to pay for that apartment. You can go find a better one later. So, whew, you did something stupid, but it's okay. Everything worked out in the end. Okay. So our first sentence is,很高兴可以跟你会面。如果你对我的提案有什么问题，可以随时打给我。Okay. So it was a pleasure meeting with you. If you have any questions about my proposal, you can call me anytime. So you have a meeting with somebody, you tell them about your proposal, and you say this at the end of the meeting. It was a pleasure meeting with you. Okay? So it was a pleasure meeting with you. We're using past tense because you already met the person and you're saying goodbye at the end of a meeting. Okay? So it was a pleasure meeting with you, or it was nice meeting with you. This is a good way to start saying goodbye. Okay? Now, we want to use was instead of is. It was a pleasure. It was nice because it already happened. We met at the beginning, and so past tense. So don't say it's pleasure to. Say it was a pleasure to. Now, some of you use nice to meet you. Now, nice to meet you feels like it should go here too, right? Is that okay? Well, nice to meet you is a set phrase that we usually use at the beginning when we first meet someone. When we say, hello, nice to meet you. So nice to meet you is at the beginning, the first time you meet someone. But when you're saying goodbye, we don't usually say nice to meet you. You would say, it was nice to meet you, because the meeting, nice to meet you, was at the beginning. It was nice to meet you. So at the end of a meeting, don't say nice to meet you. It's like, nice to meet you. It's like, we already met. So it was a pleasure meeting with you, or it was nice meeting you. Okay? Then, if you have any questions about my proposal, you can call me anytime. Okay? So I just said if you have any questions about my proposal. I also saw people say supposing. Supposing you have any questions. So supposing is, I don't know, but I'm making a guess. It might happen, right? I'm imagining it happening in the future. Okay? So if, supposing would both be okay. Now I saw some people use as long as. Now, what did we say about as long as? As long as is like if, but it means I'm expecting it to be true. So as long as you have problems, or as long as you have questions, you can call me anytime. That means I'm expecting you to have questions. I'm expecting you to have problems with my proposal. Ooh, you don't want to suggest that. You want to say if, or supposing that, you want to keep it as a maybe, because you're hoping they don't have any questions, they don't have any problems, right? So here, I'd say try not to use as long as, because as long as means I'm expecting you do have questions. And I'm hoping you probably don't, right? So I saw, as long as you have problems, you can call me. What? As long as you have problems means that you think I will have a problem. And after the meeting, you're hoping that no one has any problems, right? So as long as is not the best choice here. It's better to just use if or supposing, okay? So you could say, if you have any questions. Questions is the best thing to use here. At a meeting, a business meeting, you want to avoid the word problem. Problem is bad. So you want to try not to say, if you have any problem. It's better to say, if you have any question. So in business, try to stay away from the word problem. Even if there is a problem, we don't use the word problem, we use the word issue, okay? Oh, we have some issue, so things to fix. But if we have problems, that sounds really bad, okay? And then I said, if you have any questions about my proposal, I'm proposing something, I'm suggesting an idea. You could use other words depending on the situation. You could say my project, my program, my briefing, whatever. Depends what you're talking about, okay? I use proposal because I think that's the best translation for TN, okay? And then the last part, you can call me anytime. Keep it simple. Anytime you can call me, okay? You could also say, feel free to call me. But we want to add the word anytime. So feel free to call me anytime or whenever you want, something like that, okay? Next up. So going forward, you also tell the person that, hey, you can call me anytime. So you say, 除非我在会议中，不然我都方便接电话. So yeah, whatever. Anytime you want to call me, you could say, unless I'm in a meeting, I'll be able to answer your call. So this is the only time it'll be a problem. This is the only time I won't take your call. So unless I'm in a meeting, I'll be able to answer your call, or I'll be able to take your call. You could also say, I'd be happy to take your call, meaning, yeah, I really want to answer your question, okay? And then you could also say, I'll be available to take your call. Now, I'm very happy with everybody. In Chinese, it says 方便. And everyone did a great job and stayed away from the word convenient. So everyone's doing well. I was worried people might say, oh, I will be convenient to answer your call. And nobody did that, so good job. You avoided that common mistake. Tons and tons of people say that. Okay, so the first part is unless I'm in a meeting, I'll be able to answer your call. So use unless here because it's the only situation that would make the other thing not true. Unless I'm in the meeting, that's the only thing that will change the next part. I'll be able to answer your call, okay? So we don't want to use otherwise because otherwise is talking about a negative consequence. And that's not really what we're talking about here, okay? And so I'll be able to answer your call. I'd be happy to take your call. I'll be available to take your call. All of these are okay. I'll be free to take your call. All of these are fine. And like I said, take and answer are both okay. And yeah, no big problems with that. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Because most of your answers were really good. So last but not least, get to the final sentence. 只有双方都同意合约上所有条款，才会确定合作. Okay? Provided that both parties agree to the terms of the contract, everything will be settled. Okay? Now, this is the rather formal sentence. So, provided that both parties agree to the terms of the contract, and then you could also say, everything will be set in stone. Okay? So, provided that is what we can use to start a relatively formal sentence. Doesn't have to be super formal to use provided that, but it's a little bit more formal than if. If you're talking in business, people will use provided that, okay? So, provided that is very similar just to if. If this happens, then this will happen. So, I saw a few people use only if. Only if would be okay, but it's making it more strict. It's kind of like you're warning the other person, hey, only if both parties agree. So, if we're just trying to keep it easy, saying like, hey, like, let's figure it out, you might use provided that. Only if means like, oh, this is very strict. We must figure this out, okay? So it's okay. It just changes the feeling of the sentence. It's more strict, okay? And then provided that both parties agree to the terms of the contract. So when we're talking about negotiations in business, two groups trying to figure it out. If it's a contract, we will say both parties. One party, the other party, both parties. A party is a word we use to talk about the people involved in a contract. So I use both parties. You could also say both sides, but when we're talking about contracts, we say parties pretty often, okay? And then I also saw someone use mutual consent. Mutual consent is a very formal phrase, but it's good if you're using it in a business setting, provided that there is mutual consent between both parties. So mutual consent is another way to say both parties agree. Mutual means both, and then consent means agreement. So if there is mutual consent between parties. Whew, that's a tough sentence, right? And then I said, both parties agree to the terms of the contract. You could say all of the terms of the contract or all the terms of the contract. We'll practice the word all in a future lesson. We don't need it here, but you can use all. All the terms, all of the terms, okay? And remember, you agree to the terms. You need that word to in there. And then the last part, everything will be settled. So settled means it's finished, it's over. You could say everything will be set in stone. Set in stone means it's definitely settled. It's locked in, okay? It won't change. So you could also say the cooperation will be set in stone, meaning, or the agreement will be set in stone. That's better, sorry. So things will be set in stone. Everything will be set in stone. The cooperation will go forward and be put into action, stuff like that. So a lot of tricky, advanced business phrases in this one that you could use. So that's our final sentence. So ending with agreeing between two groups. So this might be something you use at work when talking with some customers, or maybe you're the customer and two parties need to agree on terms and conditions and settle things and get it in writing, get it set in stone, lock in that deal, get everything agreed to, okay? So let's end here. If you have any questions, I'll keep on blah, blah, blah for maybe 2 more minutes, give you a chance to leave a last question. And then if you'd like to chat with me for a few minutes, I'll stay here in the office for a few more minutes. You can send a message to Kyle Mo I. And yeah, so our dialogue this time was our chill personality who didn't have strong opinions, didn't push away the landlord, didn't say, yeah, I like it, but just said, whatever, tell me what I need to do. I don't care, just give it to me. So this time, a neutral personality can be kind of dangerous because you're agreeing to too many things. So you need to strike a balance, right? We had too positive, too negative, too close to the middle. You want to have some sort of opinion. Next week, we're going to have our silly personality, where our character, well, you is the idea. Our personality is having some fun and imagining the future of this apartment. I'm thinking about what I want to put into the apartment. Oh, I want this, I want that. So how do you decorate your apartment? What do you like to put in? Can you fit lots of stuff in your apartment? Can you put in some expensive, fun stuff? What do you think? Okay, so next time we'll get into conversation 4, and then in a couple weeks we'll start on lesson 7. So yeah, things are keeping moving forward. There were only a few of you here joining me today, but that's okay. Thank you for joining in on the chat. I appreciate it. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you have questions, I can help you. So thanks for participating in the chat today. It was a little more active than the last couple weeks, so that's great. I love to hear your questions. So if you'd like to chat with me for a few minutes, I'll be online. Send me a message, and yeah, that's it for today. So, we forgot, or I forgot to mention, I know this homework is not easy as pie. I know it's not shooting fish in the barrel, but I'm so glad you're trying your best. You're working hard. You're working your butt off. So good job to you. And I'm proud of you. You guys are great. And it makes me happy to see that everyone is participating and trying their best. So keep working your butt off. If you do it, you'll get better. See how I try to work in some of our phrases? So I'll see you next week. See you later, alligator, and have a good weekend. And yeah, try to do something fun this weekend. Get some relaxing time, okay? So thanks for joining. I'll see you next time. Good night.